Hello, Nick Westergaard here, joined today by another Social Brand Forum preview, Mr. Jason Falls, VP of Digital Strategy at Cafepress, founder of Social Media Explorer, and here today to tell you a little bit about what he's going to talk about at the aforementioned Social Brand Forum. Jason, how does today find you?
How's it going, Nick? It's going good here in sunny, beautiful Louisville, Kentucky.
Sunny, beautiful Louisville, Kentucky. Well, this is sunny, beautiful Iowa today, so we're a little bit warm as August gets, but no, we are so thrilled that you could be here, or that you will be here with us at the Social Brand Forum. And I was just thinking back in preparation, for our talk here, even this morning, and was thinking that it was really your Explore events that you used to do, that you used to take around to, some of those cities that might not always find a digital marketing conference with some of the best industry thought leaders at it, and it was attending those, speaking those, that made me think we need something like that right here in the great Midwest, here in Iowa, and thrilled to actually kind of bring you here this year after being such a big part of really what we're trying to create here.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to come to Iowa. I've actually never spoken in Iowa before that I know of, at least not sober, and so I'm really looking forward to coming. And it's awesome that you mentioned the Explore events, because we did those for 1 year, and then we were planning them for a second year, and I ended up stepping away from Social Media Explorer and moving to Cafepress in a full-time capacity, and that kind of was the instigating point for us sunsetting those events. And Des Moines or where in that area was going to be on our list. So when the Social Brand Forum popped up, I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'm glad Nick's doing that, because that would have been a market that we would have wanted to serve. So I'm glad that you stepped up and did that, and I'm excited to be able to come and wax poetic on a few things.
Well, and speaking of the hot August weather, and these underserved communities, it was really kind of a hypothesis that we tested out, and I'm sure you found as well, is that there's an incredible thirst for digital marketing learning content in places where it may not be feasible in the budget to, get to Boston or San Francisco or any of the other communities that seem to by default get a lot of these events. So
yeah, once upon and I learned that lesson fortunately several years ago when I was still at Doe Anderson. This was the funniest travel story ever, but it was a real good lesson learned for me. I was speaking at an event in Emirates Stadium in London, England, right, where Arsenal soccer team plays.
Yeah.
And I was invited. It was a real honor for me. I was invited over there to some event. I don't even remember the name of the event now. But it was really cool to kind of be in London, England. I got on a plane. I flew home. And the day after I got home, I played a gig, if you want to use that terminology, at the city community center in Inez, Kentucky, which is a town of about 2,000 people. But there were a couple hundred people at this event in London. I think it was like 50 people showed up in Inez, Kentucky to learn about social media digital marketing. And that was when the light bulb went off in my head that, hey, we can't just keep doing, Chicago and Las Vegas and LA and whatnot. There's people all over the country, even in little small towns, that are thirsty for this knowledge. So let's find a way to serve them that's not some, stale online thing that they don't ever actually get to interact with people.
Well, and I think there's real value to that too. I mean, that's, you look at everything. I mean, if you want any kind of knowledge, I mean, there's online learning outlets to get any of this, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but providing something, like you said, unique, where you can interact with people, I think there's real value there.
Well, and there's something to be said too, from a speaker perspective, and also in the events that I go to where I'm not a speaker, where I'm just in the audience for whatever reason. There's something to be said for the networking, not just to make contacts, but I learn more in the conversations in the Q&A the informal stuff at lunch and whatnot than I do actually hearing the speakers talk. So you can get that webinar online learning experience. You can download a PDF, but if you're not there actually having those conversations, you're missing a little something. So it's important.
Well, you can kind of meet other people like you. I mean, especially if you're in charged with marketing, digital marketing in your organization, you sometimes kind of feel like you're on the weird island. And we could at least kind of put together the island of misfit toys here at an event like this.
Exactly. That should be fun. We should subtitle Social Brand
Yeah,
Forum that.
exactly. The island of misfit toys.
There you
But,
go. It's definitely the island of misfit speakers. I know a few of the folks you got, and we're an interesting bunch.
well, I think that, the other thing that I think you did right with Explore and something that we've certainly tried to mirror with this is there's something about a kind of a Goldilocks sized event as well, where it's big enough to have that kind of energy, big enough, thriving enough, but also small enough that, the speakers, like you said, are sticking around, are part of the event, are asking questions of the other speakers, are, keeping things going, and the audience can, have an opportunity to connect, interact with people too, that I think has some.
Yeah, my biggest one of my biggest frustrations in the event world, if you go to bigger events, is when you've got concurrent sessions and there's like three really awesome speakers speaking at the same time, and the facility is so big that you never see some of the speakers, right? So these, medium to small events where there's a level of intimacy and interaction where the speakers stick around all day and have lunch with you and whatnot, there's a lot of value there. And I get a lot more out of those than I do the big ones. And someone asked me one time, when we were doing Explore, how big do you want this to get? And I was, not much bigger. We were getting about 250 people to come in the door, and that's about all I really wanted. I said, if you get much bigger than that, then you got to have concurrent sessions and whatnot, and then you get too big.
Well, it makes me think it's back to school time of, the kids, when schools get too full and they have to deal with the logistics of more people in the hallway, and it becomes a different animal when it gets too big too. So
Very true.
So speaking of the Social Brand Forum, and speaking of speaking,
Yes.
tell us a bit about what you're going to speak about.
So I'm going to talk about broccoli. And it's actually a metaphor. You're going to have to come if you want to hear the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
But I've got this story about there is no fresh broccoli. And kind of the metaphor is to let marketers know that you're not going to find an easy button at this conference. You're not going to find an easy button on someone's blog or a book that you buy or a webinar that you watch. I've become increasingly frustrated over the last probably 2 years or so that the same 5 or 6 questions keep getting asked. How do I get more fans? How do I drive engagement? How do I create content? What channels should I use? What do I do about negative comments? And how do I measure all this? Those questions keep coming up over and over again. And unfortunately, I've also noticed that it's not new people asking those questions. It's the same people asking the same questions over and over again. And so what I want to try to do with the talk, and I think the Social Brand Forum will be the first time I give this talk, unless I find a little, side audience to kind of unveil it to work out the kinks between now and then. But what I want to try to do with this talk is pull back and say, look, there's about 5 or 6 meta things you need to know to be a successful digital marketer. Beyond those 5 or 6 things, stop looking for the broccoli. Okay, start working. Start trying to cook your meal, if you will. That doesn't really parallel with my metaphor, but again, the metaphor is fun. You're going to have to come to it. So that's really the whole point is we've got to stop trying to find the easy button and realize that anything worth doing, especially in business and in marketing, takes work, and we're going to have to roll up our sleeves and just figure it out.
Yeah, well, I happened upon a quote. I'm reading Creativity Inc. by Ed Catmull, one of the founders of Pixar, and it was one of those that I had to underline because it makes me think of your broccoli, because it's not enough to know the right path. You have to start down it.
Yeah.
And there's so many of these things that, like you said, we're asking the same questions and we're not showing any improvement. I've seen data talking about everybody knows consistently that social media integration is a problem. but it's one that's not getting any better. Nobody's there's no movement. So
Yeah.
I think
I was talking to, Fred Durham has come back as the CEO of Cafepress, and I happened to get a couple minutes with him yesterday, and I was talking to him, and I was asking him about sort of the entrepreneurial spirit, because he certainly has it. I mean, he and Mahesh Jain started Cafepress out of the back of his garage. The first T-shirt maker was his mom. And now, it grew into a $300 million publicly traded company, right? So great internet success story, entrepreneurial success story. And he's done some other things over the years too. And I was talking about the entrepreneurial spirit. And he said, let me explain what the entrepreneurial spirit is to you. The entrepreneurial spirit is having the ability to dive headfirst into something that you know nothing about and learn as you go and fail continually. And then every time you fail, you don't say, okay, I failed. You say, okay, I just need to try it one more time.
yeah.
And then the next time you fail, you say, okay, I just need to try it one more time. And then the next time you fail, you say, I need to try it one more time. Mahesh and Fred started, I think, 9 different companies before they hit on Cafepress. And all 9 of them were failures. And ultimately, the 10th one worked, and it worked well. And so I think the way that translates to digital marketers is, instead of sitting back and waiting for some instructions from some speaker at some conference, instead of waiting for some blueprint from some book, we've got to get out there and just figure it out. Just try it. Start publishing stuff and see what happens. Measure what you're doing. Test, iterate, kind of that lean methodology of, fail fast, fail cheap. Keep trying until you hit on something good. And then when you hit on something good, run with it, right? And milk it for all it's worth.
That's like the one drawback that I think of the prevalence of case studies is that we're looking for that perfect case study that's in a business, that's in our industry, it's our size, our same geography, our same what did they do? We're going to drop that in, and if I don't find it, I'm going to wait for it.
Right. And if you have that mentality, you are never the innovator. Yeah. You're always imitating someone else. And not that everybody has to be innovators in order to be successful, but at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself knowing, well, I just copied what somebody else did and got it done, right? I checked that box.
Yeah. So, if you want to learn more about the broccoli from Mr. Falls, if you want to get out of the rut of just checking those boxes, we hope you'll join us this September 25th through the 26th here in lovely Iowa at the Social Brand Forum. You can learn more. Register at socialbrandforum.com, and to get the very best rate, remember to use promo code BDDVIP. It's Brand Driven Digital VIP. So BDDVIP rates are about to go up one last time here, so make sure you hop in, learn from Jason, other smart folks like Chris Brogan, Ann Handley, John Jantz, and more. Jason, anything you want to add before you see everyone here live and in person in Iowa?
I also have to encourage everyone to register and come because I haven't actually officially spoken in Iowa before. I am going to be righting a centuries-old wrong by coming and giving Iowans proper credit for something that Kentuckians are very proud of. So come on by.
And that's something we're going to have to wait for the event to see.
Gotta wait.
All right.
It's gonna be good.
We have to see what us Midwesterners deserve some credit for. So, Jason, thank you so much for joining us here on the video today and in Iowa here next month.
Can't wait to do it, and thanks for having me.
All right. Learn more at socialbrandforum.com. Thanks.